Hi, I'm Michael from Visma. Today I'll talk a bit about MCP, Model Context Protocol. If you haven't been sleeping under a rock the last few months, you probably have heard about Model Context Protocol. Today we cover a few of the basics and then we'll jump right into what you can do with custom-built MCP servers for Visma products. So MCP, in a nutshell, it's an attempt to standardize how AI systems can find and interact with tools, services, and other AI agents in a more standardized way. This was released and open sourced in November by Anthropic, who make popular LLMs like Claude. Anthropic describes it a bit like the USB-C port between agents. So if you have been around for a while, you know other standards for communication between remote systems and networks. You can think of REST or RPC or gRPC or SOAP. If you wanted to build an AI agent or system that uses tools, you would have to custom build the tool every time for every single call to that system with a unique API. And what Model Context Protocol tries to solve here is that these integrations, these services become reusable and also discoverable maybe, and also standardized. So I might just need one MCP server for communicating with Slack, and since MCP servers can be open sourced, anyone can reuse it, extend it, implement it themselves. So not every developer out there in the whole world has to write their own integration to Slack, for instance. And as I mentioned, MCP is one attempt to standardize this communication, and just 2 weeks ago Google also announced another standard alongside MCP, maybe even a different abstraction level here, one might argue, agent-to-agent protocol, which takes it to the next level, but this is very fresh, so we're looking forward to seeing how this goes. So let's bring some practical examples here. To start with a simple example that everyone will have a use for. So if you go on the website of Model Context Protocol, modelcontextprotocol.io, we can see a distinction between MCP servers and MCP clients. And there is an array of MCP clients out there. As you can see here, not all of them are fully native MCP, which is okay for us, because most important is that they implement the tools, so they can call MCP tools and also resources for getting MCP data. So for today, we're using Claude Desktop as an MCP client, not because it's the best one, but it's because it's readily available, and it has a few other cool tools that we can use as part of the demo. But you can use also open source MCP clients, like you can also use Cursor, you can use Visual Studio Code, so there's already many good MCP clients out there for you to play around with. So to try with an example server, I've decided to use this MCP G Suite server, which allows me to, or the MCP client in this case, access to my G Suite, meaning it can get access to my Google account, it can retrieve my emails, it can draft and send emails, it can manage my calendar, and so on. So the nice thing here is I don't have to write a single line of code. I can just download and install this repository and add some configuration, and then I'm ready to go to use it. Let's do that right now. I'll start Claude. Here's Claude Desktop, and I go to, I've already downloaded the repository. I'm going to go to Claude Settings. I'm going to go to the Developer tab, which already mentions MCP here, where I can add MCP servers. I click Add Config, and here I have the configuration where I can add my MCP servers. So I've already done this before, so I'll just paste my previous configuration back in. I'll save this. I'll have to restart Claude. We can see now here that now Claude has successfully read the configuration file and also started up. It also acts as a host for the MCP server, so I don't have to run the program itself. Claude is smart enough to start the MCP server itself, and I can see now I have an array of tools available here for that the MCP server exposes, getting emails, creating calendar events, and so on. So at this point, Claude has not been instructed on the specific tool at all, so it will be smart enough from context to understand itself what it has to do and when to use which tool. So we can try that, for instance. So it's just been Easter, and I want to know what's been happening. Come back from Easter. Please check my emails if I missed anything. So at this point in time, I have to, for every new chat, I have to allow Claude Desktop to use the tool and execute the tool, which is a safety precaution. Can get a bit annoying after some time, but for now we will live with this. And there's other MCP clients that don't ask all the time. And yeah, we can see it called the tool with some query parameters, and it returned a JSON from my email account. We can see here that it summarizes what happened. Here I have some meetings coming up, some action items I should be working on, and so on. And yeah, so far it's just reading emails. Of course, let's also try to, hey, please create a draft email, just as an example, telling Smita, my lovely team member, that I look forward to our meeting tomorrow, and if I should prepare anything in advance. Again, I have to allow this action. And if I log into my email and I look at my drafts, I can see here that it successfully created the draft email. Of course, you could have also just sent it directly from Claude, but for the sake of this demo, we'll leave it at the draft email. Yeah, so now we have seen how easy it is to install existing MCP servers to extend the capabilities of our AI agent. In this case, Claude Desktop has now access to our emails and calendars, which it couldn't do before, and all of that took just a few minutes. And yeah, well, right now one could argue that it's not the most straightforward user experience to install an MCP server. I can imagine a near future where we will have, like, similar to the smartphone App Store or on iOS or the Play Store on Android, we will have a whole ecosystem of AI agents that are easily discoverable and installable and extendable, similar to what we just did, depending on what you want to do with your agent. So of course, as I mentioned, MCP is open source, so everyone can write and open source their own MCP servers. There are really good SDKs available for both Python and JavaScript. And there's already online platforms like Smithery and others where one can easily look at and download other MCP servers and use them. Yeah, of course, here handle this with care. This is, of course, remote code from somebody else. So you don't really always know what this is doing, but check it out, and you might find an MCP server to improve your workflow. So a very common use case for MCP servers is to wrap existing APIs and make them accessible as tools to AI agents. So this is what I did with a Visma product called e-conomic, which has its own app store based on top of e-conomic's publicly available APIs. The developer accounts are free for e-conomic, so anyone can create an app, and all customers have access to all apps in e-conomic. Some of these integrations charge money, so they're building part of the business on top of e-conomic's APIs. e-conomic is an accounting and bookkeeping system that is compliant and in Denmark and very popular. So it makes sense for businesses to use e-conomic under the hood as their core accounting engine, and then build their own use cases on top of that. So all of these apps are built on top of e-conomic's API that is available and accessible via REST and OpenAPI, and it's a great use case for trying to wrap it in an MCP server. So that's what I've been trying to do here. I've created my own MCP integration for e-conomic, which I've published and open sourced on GitHub, so you can have a look at this. And it exposes some tools, which you can find down here after the installation guide. So you can access your accounts, you can access your invoices, your journals, basically all your relevant bookkeeping system. You can also create, of course, supply invoices and so on through your interface. But yeah, let's dive right into it, what this could look like. So let's see how we can install this e-conomic MCP server. So after I followed the installation guide and created a developer agreement in e-conomic and installed the app in my business account, which takes a few minutes, which all in all just takes a few minutes and a few clicks, no code required. And I can add a new MCP server to my Claude Desktop by just adding the configuration here. Of course, you want to replace the tokens with your own tokens for your agreement and your app, or you can just try it out with the demo tokens, which will allow you to do read operations but not write operations, but it's a good way to get started. So once I have added my own tokens, so I can show you a bit more what this can do, and I restart my Claude, you can immediately see that Claude has now a lot more tools available on top of the previous ones. So I still have the tools for accessing my G Suite, but for instance, I also have the tools exposed by the e-conomic MCP server, for instance, for creating invoices, for getting accounts, and so on, getting booked invoices as well. So again, this is a zero-shot example. Claude doesn't know anything about e-conomic. Claude doesn't know anything about bookkeeping, so this is just the base model. So let's see how far we can get. We can just, for instance, ask it to, hey, fetch my suppliers and my customers. And the AI system will be smart enough to automatically understand that, okay, we should call the tools for suppliers and customers, and it calls the APIs, and it summarizes the list of customers and suppliers, So while this is production accounts, the companies I'm working here are fake with fake data, so it's not real data, but the data is from the economic public API. So far this is more like a glorified REST client, so nothing that special, to be honest. But yeah, what we can of course do is also some extended use case. So while this is nice for fetching data, we can of course also do some extensive analysis of how our business is doing. And this is why I'm choosing also Claude Desktop here, because it has some nice features of creating interactive charts in Canvas. It can create its own code that it can host within the app. So just to highlight this, I can, for instance, ask Claude to create an interactive cash flow analysis for my business over the last 12 months and give me some recommendations on optimizing my business. And I'll speed this up a bit because, of course, this will take a bit of time. And then you can write code to better visualize the data we've just created. So let's see, sometimes this works on the first try, sometimes it doesn't. And here it has successfully created an interactive chart, cash flow analysis. Nice, also some customer revenue distribution. It seems to also work already. Expense breakdown and some optimization suggestions. So of course all of this should be verified by a professional, but all of this is based on data, and I think it's quite an impressive showcase of what the data can do. And the nice thing about Claude is that I can immediately publish this this little snippet here, could send it to one of my clients. So if we open this in the browser, I can immediately share this cash flow analysis that I've created with one of my clients, after confirming, of course, that all the data here is real and that everything works as expected. So now we have extended our Claude Desktop already with some powerful tools. It has access to our whole Gmail suite and also access to our bookkeeping and accounting system. So of course, we can also use these tools in conjunction. So for instance, I know that I have some unpaid invoices in my Gmail that I would like to log in my bookkeeping system. So let's try to do that together with Claude. I've got some invoices from Anthropic in my inbox. Please fetch the last one and create a supplier invoice for it. Again, Claude isn't trained on economics specifically or on bookkeeping specifically, so it's just a base model that is trying its luck. So it already called my Gmails, emails. It also found the recent invoice from Anthropic. It's downloading the PDF attachment to get more information. It's retrieving the information from the invoice, the tax information. It's getting the accounting data from economic, in this case the accounting years. Needs a lot of data to make a successful call to the API. It's trying to find the right account to book this supply invoice on. Also fetches the list of journals. So all of this is doing uninstructed. So of course, with a bit of prompting, this would be a lot faster. You can also use an MCP server to store this information in memory, maybe in a database. So all of this information doesn't have to be retrieved again and again for every set chat. And it's tried to create the supply invoice for us, and it's telling us that it worked. So let's have a look. Let's log into our economic. I think it's a disagreement here. So this is the information that it took from the PDF, from the email, and it told me it booked it in a journal. Where did it go? Test booking journal. So yeah, if I log into my economic agreement, I can see indeed the supply invoice here is created. So with all the information that it just filled in, and I found the right supplier as well, which is number 4, Anthropic. And also just to show you another example of how to integrate MCP servers in an agent. So here I have an agent builder called Langflow, which is also running on my desktop, so on my local host. And I'm not going to go too much into what Langflow is or how it works. But the nice thing about MCP is, of course, it's a tool that is reusable. So in this case, let's say I'm an accountant, right? And accountants usually administer and service many clients. In this case, I'm an accountant that services 3 businesses. I can just copy paste and duplicate the MCP server that interacts with economic, and just connect, of course, the app that the economic developer app that I've created initially, install it in all of my businesses, and with no code, actually, just with a bit of configuration, I now have an AI agent that can interact with all of my businesses at once. So in this case, I have configured my agent, which in this case is using an OpenAI model. I've configured my OpenAPI key, and Langflow has a component specifically for MCP servers. So I've created 3 components here for MCP servers. I've configured it to use my economic MCP server, and I have added the keys for all the 3 businesses here. I've also instructed in this case my AI agent with a bit more information about the businesses we are administrating here, and also to speed things up a bit, I've copy-pasted the README file from my MCP server from economics, so it has the information already up ahead for which tools it has available. I don't think this is really necessary. Again, the AI is smart enough to figure out the tools itself, but I thought it would be good practice. So now that the AI agent has access to 3 different MCP servers with different clients in the background, we can ask it on top of all our businesses, hey, how are my clients doing today? And we can see it's calling the tools for all the different clients. So of course it takes some time, but we can imagine this running overnight or in batch and then sending me an email report. Yeah, indeed here we get the information from all the 3 businesses that I've added with a nice little overview as well. So the nice thing about Langflow is also that I can easily make this accessible for anyone really, for my clients for instance. So this was more like the developer overview, so this is what it looks like when you develop such an agent. A nice visual overview, but I can also easily publish this. So I can access this via an API directly, so whichever client I have that can interact with an API can use this agent now. In this case, I'll just copy-paste the embedding code that it provides me with. I'll paste it into an HTML file on my computer, and then if I open this HTML file, I get this little speech bubble here, and I can interact with this agent. So hey, how's my businesses doing? Don't mind the spelling mistakes. It asks me which one, because it's aware of it, of course. Yeah, all of them. And just like before, we're getting a nice overview over the live data directly from the economic API of how our businesses are doing. And I can ask more questions here or create more invoices and so on, and interact with my existing data, with my businesses in a different way than just through the clickable user interface. Now you have seen some of the powers we can give our agents with using MCP servers. Again, some of the strengths are that this is, yes, reusable and a stab at trying to semi-standardize the way that agents are working with tools and with each other. I love that it's open source. It makes it super easy to build your own MCP servers and clients. Makes this whole thing a lot more trustworthy. There's a lot of MCP servers being popped out all the time by lots of different SaaS products, which makes it so much easier to build agents and interact with one another. There's also relatively good support but from agent builders, like I just showed you from Langflow, but you can also look at other big providers that are building agent builders like PrewAI or the big cloud vendors. They all support MCP by now. Of course, there's also some drawbacks that MCP still has, which is that you still need a lot of safeguards and guardrails. The user experience isn't currently always the best. Sometimes the clients crash. You have to restart and configure still a lot of things, even though you don't have to code anything. There's still many MCP servers that you can download these days that might just not work for various reasons. There's also a lack of observability and costs. So if I, for instance, the example I brought you earlier, where I might administer, hundreds of thousands of MCP servers, I've noticed during the development, I've quickly exceeding my token limits on many of the API calls without really knowing what's going on. So you can quickly rack up your token count. Which of course over time will be less of a problem with bigger context windows and cheaper models that are more and more capable. So this will go away, of course. And again, now with other standards coming out, they might build on top or alongside or replace MCP in the future. We'll see where this goes. If you're curious to trying out the economic MCP server, either directly with some demo credentials, or you want to just look at the code and try it out yourself to build your own MCP server on top of your API, feel free to check out the repository. I really like the idea behind MCP. It makes it doesn't reinvent the wheel. It just makes it a lot easier and faster to interact with API